by sex. Eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day. They're the eyes of a man whose lust knows no bounds.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Horny Creek. My name is Mark. With me as always is my dead-eyed wife, Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week here. It is May 13th, or May 12th, or whatever, 1999.
Do you remember how you told me that you weren't going to do that anymore? That you were going to stop with the weird names for me? And yet, dead-eyed wife made its way in?
Well, you just sitting there like...
Because I was trying not to make you laugh again, because every intro I make you laugh, and then the show starts and you're just cracking up.
Oh my gosh, really?
So I was like, I'm not going to make any faces this
What
time.
do you guys think? Latefee1994 at AOL.com. Should the intros just be straight? Like, sometimes I get bored just saying the same thing every single time.
Yeah, but like...
We do this four
I just
times
don't
a
wanna-
week.
I just don't like starting out laughing for no reason.
Okay, well. Do you guys like us laughing for no reason? Or do you want to be in on the joke?
I want to share.
Okay. Well, you know who wanted to share this week? Dawson's dad, I guess. Wanted to share a table with
Okay.
his
That's a stretch.
son, his girlfriend. He wanted to share some romantic time with his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife,
And his new girlfriend, or whatever the fuck she is.
the new bitch.
Do you think that they're actually in a relationship, or just...
She said they've been on a few dates.
Yeah.
I think they're exploring things. I don't think they're necessarily in a relationship.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we should... I wasn't going to start with that, but I guess we can start with that. So
Well, we can start with whatever you want to,
It
Carol.
is-
This is your show. We can start with whatever you want to start with. And start in the room if you want. With all the friends. The 90210 references.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, the entire young cast is in Dawson's room.
Mm-hmm.
And they start talking about how their life is like the 90210
Life is like 90210.
show. And they're like, eventually they're going to have to start hanging out at the Peach Pit or whatever, like, because they're just like,
Yeah.
somebody said they're not going to be lifelong friends, like on 90210.
I don't know. I think Andy maybe said that or whatever. And then Joshua Jackson said we're one step away from the Peach Pit or whatever. And everyone stared at him like he's an asshole for knowing anything about 90210. They'd hate us.
Right?
And they start hitting each other or hitting him with pillows.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, I thought it was a dream sequence at one point because it got so ridiculous. It's one of those things where you know how nobody has pillows filled with feathers anymore?
Right.
He has pillows filled with feathers, and they just start flying everywhere. Like, you're ruining all his pillows.
And I'm sorry, in this room, there's Katie Holmes,
Yeah. Dawson Leary.
Dawson,
We're just mixing
Casey,
their
Andy, Jen,
Jack.
So there are 6 people hanging out in this room. Not one of them is allergic to feathers. I mean, that is a pretty common allergy.
I guess. I don't know. I don't have an allergy to feathers.
I do. Even though, like, my allergy test didn't say it, I do.
Oh, okay.
I've discovered that in life.
I gotcha.
Fun surprises.
But yeah, and they're pouring popcorn out over his head and everything. But
It did? I didn't see the popcorn.
Yeah.
What the hell?
and
What a
I know
mess.
this was.
I think maybe I'm growing up because that's all I can think about is cleaning up that giant mess.
We get a little bit of exposition too because they all say why they're there. Like Dawson's like, no offense to any of you, but I just called over Pacey, and Pacey's like, and I invited Andy, and she's like, I invited Jack, and Katie Holmes is like, she's not gonna be Joey anymore. She's just Katie Holmes. Is like, I hope I never need an invitation. And he's like, no, of course not. You're Hollywood actress Katie Holmes. And then Jen goes, and I live here now.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, we understand.
I mean, that's not even like a huge part of the episode that she lives there now.
No, that's just their way of getting that in there, getting that info in there.
Right. I mean, I guess it kind of is because she like hangs out with his mom, but
That's true. She got kicked out by Grams.
And like we speculated that this is where she'd end up.
Of course, it's next door.
Yeah, she didn't have to carry all her stuff very far. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of fucked up, though.
Do you think that they're going to reconcile, or do you think Grams is out of the show? Do you feel like that part of the reason they're doing this is because they're like, look, we can't like afford to have this actress in the show anymore and do like nothing to like pay her, and like we barely do anything with her, so like, well, let's just get rid of her. I
don't think it's a question of money. I mean, like, I really don't think they're like, we can't afford to pay her scale or whatever they pay her.
This is WB's biggest hit, probably, right?
I don't know.
This and Buffy.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe she doesn't want to be on the show as much or something. Who knows? I mean, she's getting older.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, they're just consolidating their actors and actresses like they do on 90210, where like they're all just moving in together.
That's true.
Cut down on the number of sets they're using, and yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, too.
Maybe.
It's big savings to kill off Grandma.
But, like, okay, these two houses are right next to each other. We've seen that with a camera. Like, they're right next to each other. Don't they, like, film at these two houses? Or do they actually have, like, a set somewhere?
I don't know. I don't know if they film on location or not. That's an excellent question. I have no idea.
Because if they have two houses next to each other, why not use them both?
I agree.
So,
But anyway, so after the opening scene of exposition, then we get to what you want to talk about, probably.
What do I want to talk about?
I don't know. This we can go wherever you want to go.
Well,
this episode isn't quite as well. There's horniness in this episode for sure.
There's definitely horniness. Dawson and Joey are having their 1 month anniversary.
Yeah,
and
he uses the word persnickety a lot.
He only used it once. She uses it more.
Yeah, she misuses it, I believe, at one point, if I remember correctly, at one point in the episode. What, you don't think so?
I don't know. I mean, I thought persnickety meant, like, bitchy.
No.
Well, what does it mean?
That's funny, persnickety. It's just funny to think of someone using persnickety instead of bitchy.
Or, like, I guess, picky?
Yes, that's pretty much correct. Persnickety is essentially being too preoccupied with like minor, unimportant details of something.
Okay, so
yes,
he uses it to mean that, and then she uses it to mean bitchy.
Right. It's funny. Like, I honestly think that's a subtle little joke in the show where it's like she doesn't know what persnickety means, but she doesn't want to ask what persnickety means. So then she just assumes and uses it incorrectly.
Yeah. But yeah, so she's talking about, you know, whether or not they should celebrate and what they should do. And she's like, you know, it's no big deal. And she's like, we'll just hang out. And he's like, well, or you know, I could have made us reservations. Like
the hottest French restaurant in town.
Right. So she's all excited and impressed because he remembered.
Yeah. Their 1 month, whatever anniversary
it is,
we're doing thing, or however they explain it.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, 1 month. At what point? At what age? This is appropriate for their age. For the age they're supposed to be. Their dialogu's not appropriate for the age.
Yeah, for a teenager, a month is like a year.
But exactly. Yeah, their relationships are measured in dog years. But at what age does it become lame to celebrate like a 1 month anniversary?
I don't know.
I think like college level, right? When you get maybe not even like freshman in college, but like upperclassmen college, junior, senior in college. I think at that point it starts to become lame.
I think when you're at the point where most of your friends are getting married, you should stop celebrating 1 month anniversaries.
That's variable though. What if you're friends with a bunch of whores who start getting married when they're like 16 and 17?
Why would that make them whores if they're getting married? What a weird thing to say.
Because they're getting pregnant.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
What?
So much judgment. Jesus. I was just thinking to myself,
that didn't happen to you.
Not everybody goes to college.
Uh-huh.
So that's not the best yardstick. So I was thinking, like,
gotcha. Okay.
you know, the age is when you're done with college is like mid-20s. I'm like, that's usually around when people start getting married. Or maybe if your friends are getting married when you're like 20, you know, whatever. You wouldn't want to be like, oh, it's my 1 month anniversary. So.
Right. If you got married when you were 16 because you got pregnant, it's fine.
Okay, moving on.
No judgments. Why are you so angry about this?
Because I just think it's a shitty thing to say. Because I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that have been in that situation.
Sure.
So
you
don't want to offend people.
You know some people.
I
huh?
do. No, shut up. So, anyways, they're excited about the reservations.
Yep. They're trying to be a 16-year-old couple after these reservations. Go ahead. She's excited about the reservations.
Andy
Then we see Andy. Yes.
is being a bitch as usual. Like, I really do not like her character.
No. Well, we get... This is a very Andy-heavy episode.
Yeah.
And we get a little more insight into her character, kind of. I do feel some sympathy for her.
Sure.
But yes, she is... the way she deals with her mental illness is very, like, bitchy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not the way she deals with her mental illness that's bitchy. It's the way she deals with her boyfriend that's bitchy.
Yeah.
And, like, I understand that part of it is because of the mental illness, but that's not a license to just treat somebody like shit.
No, I agree.
And, like...
But she shows up looking completely different.
Yeah, she's got shoulder-length brown hair all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she used to have long-ish blonde hair.
Correct.
Which looked more natural.
Yeah, I don't... Later, they say that she dyed her hair back to the color essentially when her other brother was still alive.
Yeah.
But that, like you said, I think for the actress anyway, I think her natural hair color might be blonde.
Yeah.
Or some sort of blonde, even like a dirty blonde or something like that. Not this dark.
I mean, it looks fine, but the blonde looked better for sure.
I don't know. Both of you and I had a visceral reaction to it.
Yeah.
Just like they did.
Yeah, everybody's kind of like, what the fuck?
So I don't know that anyone loved it.
And because Pacey didn't immediately say he loved it, then she's just like, oh my God, you hate it. Mm-hmm. And this is awful. And, you know, nobody talk about this and blah, 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 blah.
I have to study, and I'm seeing Abby everywhere I go.
She does not say. She's not seeing Abby.
No,
she saw Abby once. Abby is not the problem.
No. But she is in school, and she sees this boy smiling back at her. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh my God, I'm smiling at you. And then later, she goes to her therapist, and she's talking to her therapist, and she's like, yeah, you know, you're dealing with some trauma here from, like, you know, the Abby dying, and seeing her is, and she's like, maybe I didn't really see her. And she's like, it's okay if you saw her. And she's like, I didn't see her, though, really.
Yeah, she's like, you're having complex grief, which, you know, makes sense. I mean, she's lost a lot. And she's like, the death of Abby has triggered, you know, your previous grief issues. And
the therapist wants to put her on medication to, like, kind of fine-tune the medication.
Is that what she said?
She did say something about medication. She goes, and Andy said, I thought I'd never have to go on that again or whatever. And she was like, well, you know, things are not the same as they were. Mm-hmm. So, like, we need some kind of intervention here. And she was like, oh, okay, you know, I probably didn't see her, though, really, like, you know. And then she leaves, and she goes, and that dude is in her car with her. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Brown, I don't have with anyone what I have with you, Brown. You're the only one that listens to me.
And they start snuggling.
Yeah, and he's like, did you tell her about me? And she goes, no, I couldn't.
Yeah. And I think what the therapist, because I thought he asked if she told Pacey, but
I think I'm pretty sure he asked of the therapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I suspected that this was a hallucination.
Oh, Carol called this out immediately. As soon as she saw him in
the hallway.
She was like, that's her brother.
Yep.
Because it helped that they showed us they always do the recap, and the last thing they did on the recap was showing her seeing Abby.
Yeah, that's a pretty big hint.
Yeah.
But I just kind of assumed that that's who she'd be hallucinating. So, we see her hanging out with Pacey at her house in her fluffy fucking like pajamas. I don't know, just like it's not like let me hang out with my boyfriend in my pajamas.
Right.
And she's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And she goes downstairs and has like a full-on conversation with Brown.
Yeah.
She's like, you're late? I expected you to be here sooner. Like that
was weird. Yeah.
And she's like yelling at him, and so Pacey like hears her carrying on in the kitchen,
and he's like, "You have to choose."
Yeah, what is he talking about? Him, like, as though what is her subconscious hallucination thing talking about?
I don't like. I think maybe she wants her illness or whatever is trying to get her to withdraw from any kind of help.
Or maybe to kill herself to go be with him.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe because maybe that's what she wants to do subconsciously. Yeah, she has a lot of pain and stuff. Yeah.
So Pacey catches her talking to herself, and then they get in this big fight because he suggests, God forbid, that she may be having, and he very gently says, a medical issue.
Right. Yeah. And he's got a picture book or what?
Photo album.
Photo album
that she'd been looking through.
And he's like, "How come you turned your hair back into what it looked like when you were here with your brothers?" Like all of a sudden, he's like, I think this is part of the medical situation. And she's like, "Give that back to me!" And she like wrestles with it, and she destroys a lamp.
Yeah.
And then she runs upstairs, and Jack comes in to be helpful, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he was like, "We got into a fight, and this is the thing because she's like, "Look, she's getting worse. I heard her talking to somebody and whatever." And he's like, "I did too." He's like, I don't know who the hell she was talking to. I thought she was talking on the phone to like a guy or whatever. I was jealous. That's what they were telegraphing through the episode, even though we figured it out right away. But he's like, I think he said his name was Brown, and he's like, "Oh fuck." Jack's like, "Oh fuck." And he's like, "Who's Brown?" And then Andy comes downstairs.
Yeah, and she's like, "That's my name for Tim."
Yeah, her brother.
My dead brother.
Her brother died because when she was a little kid, she couldn't say Timothy, so she said she called him by her favorite color, which was
whose favorite color is brown? Nobody's favorite color is brown.
5-year-old's favorite color is brown.
I mean, Andy is pretty plain and vanilla, so maybe it really was. I don't know, but shit.
I like tans.
I mean, he has brown hair. Why not say it was the color of his hair?
Exactly.
That would have made sense.
But instead, they say her favorite color is brown. Did her parents give her like those black and white toys to play with? Or whatever? Nothing too visually stimulating.
God.
But anyway, so then ensues the the medical crisis portion of the episode where she is seeing Tim. She runs and hides in a different room. It looks
the bathroom. She locks herself in the bathroom.
Was it a bathroom?
Yes.
Okay. She hides and locks herself in the bathroom, and Tim's talking, and he's like, "They don't fucking see me. If you take medication, you'll never see me again." And stuff. And she's like, "I don't know what to do." I often don't talk about technical issues in this TV show, but I have to give some praise to the direction of this because it's subtle, but it's so effective. She's locked into the bathroom. Pacey's on the other side of the door. They keep moving back and forth between, like, the camera. It looks like, obviously this is a trick of editing, but it looks like the camera's moving through the door to each side, right? Mm-hmm. When we're on her side, the camera is, it's locked down. I think it might be on a jib arm or something like that, but it's Steadicam footage, essentially. It's on something. It's on a tripod. It's on something. Every movement it makes is smooth and stuff like that. We go over to the other side of the door, and the camera is handheld on Pacey. There's tiny little shakes and everything, and visually it separates the two of them. Mm-hmm. Like, they are in different realms, different things. He's, like, she's like kind of manic and everything, like, and stuff, and he is in crisis, like, trying to help her and everything. And that little, like, shake, it adds to his anxiety and everything. But visually, it separates the two of them in more ways than the room does. And then when she, finally comes out and they're in the same shot together, it's, that shaky cam shot and everything. And that unites them. So it reinforces the separation of the door. And it's really, really well done. I noticed that they did that. So I wanted to give special kudos to that, as well as Joshua Jackson's acting in this scene.
Yeah.
Which was really good. Like, he doesn't go over the top with the emotion. He does a good job of playing someone that's scared but trying to be brave and, like, trying to contain his fear and everything, you know.
He does. I mean, they both do an excellent job.
Yeah, oh yeah, she does a great job too. No offense to, I can't remember the actress's name, but whoever plays Andy McPhee, but her job is slightly easier, I think, for an actress to play this. Cause there's more territory here or whatever.
Okay.
His performance has to be more subtle,
Sure,
than hers does. But she does a great job. I mean, you know, you could easily fail. She's a good actress. She does a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very emotional scene, and he's like, you know, I am begging. At first, like, he's trying to just get her to come out of the bathroom, and eventually he just kind of gives in to what she's talking about. He says, tell me what he's saying, because I can't hear.
Yeah, he said, he really makes a very brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Where he says, we don't think you're crazy. Because she's like, you all think I'm crazy. He's like, I don't think you're crazy. Jack doesn't think you're crazy. I believe that he is there, that Tim is there, and that you can see him and hear him. But it's not fair that I can't see or hear him. So you have to tell me what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And then she does, and that kind of opens her up to sharing more with him, you know. And then when Tim's like, you have to make a choice or whatever, he's like, you do. He's right, you do have to make a choice. And I want you to choose me.
Yeah. Which, you know, that was a gamble.
Yeah.
But it worked. She
did.
does come out of the bathroom.
Yep.
So, and like at that moment, I was yelling at the TV. I'm like, okay, now call 911. You are
Right.
teenage boys. You cannot handle this. But no, they just put her to bed, and, you know, they're going to call her father. Her father's a useless lump.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Don't call her fucking father. He's just going to make it worse.
But he has the money. I think the point is that he has the money to pay for whatever kind of institution she needs to, because obviously they don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Jack says, like, Dad will pay for her to get help or whatever.
They must medicate her or something. Because they're like, she's out
he
like
did
a
say that he gave her something. She does have, I think, some sedative kind of pills or whatever.
Because like later when she wakes up, he's like, you're not supposed to be awake yet. We gave you enough to put down an elephant. But yeah, he and Jack, as she's sleeping, he and Jack have a conversation at the table, a very like adult conversation, where Pacey's like, well, maybe if we just give her some time to kind of get over this or whatever. And Jack's like, yeah, it's not going to work.
He's like, time makes it worse. I saw that with my mom because we waited for her to get better and she didn't.
Until it was too late, and now it's too late or whatever, which I don't know if it's ever too late for mental health. But they do say something. You are the mental health expert of the two of us on this show, and one of the leading mental health experts in the nation, probably. But I don't... He explains what the doctor said about the mom, that when her son died, her grief was so immense that she couldn't share it with anyone or something like that.
It was stupid. What they said was stupid.
And then, like, yeah, like, they described that that's why, like, how she went, like, mentally, you know, whatever. Like, and when they were done explaining, I go, it's interesting. And you're like, yep. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, right?
I mean, it's been established, first of all, that that Andy has bipolar
disorder, yeah.
So, you know, that runs in families. Her mom is also ill, so I would assume her mom also has bipolar.
And you can have hallucinations when you're on bipolar.
You can get psychotic from straight up depression or from manic depression / bipolar disorder.
I would assume, I don't know, you would know better, but I would assume some kind of immense grief or loss would exacerbate that.
Sure, and you can actually hallucinate even just as a reaction to grief if you weren't mentally ill. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's going to make it worse. But I feel like her mom had to have been ill before her brother died.
Of course.
And then that was just something that, like you said, exacerbated it.
Yeah, like, it would be so much, like, and maybe the doctor was, like, explained that to them in like a way he thought they could understand.
Right, because they were kids.
Yeah.
Sure.
Instead of just saying like, well, she has bipolar disorder. Like, that comes with this and this and this. I mean, back then, I think they were still calling it manic depression. But
probably.
Like, yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense to me is that maybe the doctor just explained it that way because he was like, maybe they'll understand it this way or whatever.
But so, I mean, we have to believe now they're going to hopefully get her some help. And, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, the mom's not helpful.
No, we never even see the mom. Is she in that house?
Well, I mean, remember the dad came at one point?
Yes.
And he was going to try to, like, take over, and they're like, just give us your money. We don't need you, basically.
I think the mom is in some kind of institution right now.
I think she's there, and I think she just stays upstairs all the time in her room.
I don't remember.
But she's certainly not taking care of anything.
No, not at all. I don't remember exactly what she's doing, but
yeah, they're essentially on their own, these two teenagers.
Right.
And
one of them is severely mentally ill.
Right. And the mom is severely mentally ill and may or may not need assistance at any point as well. So poor Jack.
Yeah. Who's gay.
Right? He's dealing with that.
Yeah.
This is not a happy house.
Oh my goodness. But that is essentially like her and Pacey have one last conversation before kind of their stuff wraps up, where she talks about how scared I feel so bad for her though. Like she talks about how scared she is and everything.
Well,
and stuff.
Yeah, I feel bad for her. I think she's a bitch though.
Yeah, she is most of the time. Yes,
and
she is.
Sure, I'm sure her, her mental illness doesn't help, but I feel like just at baseline, she's a bitch.
Probably, yeah.
But anyway.
But she's like, what is going to happen or whatever? And he's like, we're gonna get you help. And she was like, what if it doesn't work? Which I guess maybe I know that because I know I'm not going to name any names, but I know a couple people that have bipolar disorder, and they don't like taking their medication and stuff like that. And I never really understood that. I wonder if that's part of it too. If part of it that they don't want to take their medication is because they're afraid it won't work.
Maybe. I mean, like I said when we talked about this at the time, part of it is it feels good to be manic.
Right.
And like
productive.
Sure.
Never have to sleep.
And also like she was hallucinating her brother. Like she probably didn't want to lose that. That probably felt good too.
Yeah.
So there are certain aspects of mental illness that they may not want to get rid of. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Pacey's just like, I'm going to be there for you and, I love you and that's all that matters kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, when you're a teenager, love conquers all and that's all that matters. But dude,
it's difficult to be as their dad, who's an asshole,
right?
Proves it's difficult to be in a relationship with someone who's severely mentally ill.
Yeah.
And I still think the dad's an asshole. If I was in that situation, I wouldn't leave my mentally ill wife and 2 kids after my other child died. Like it just wouldn't occur to me, but I get it. I get why some people would be emotionally destroyed and need to remove themselves from that situation because they don't have the emotional maturity to take care of that situation, and all they can think to do is work and throw money at the situation. But I still think he's obviously, we saw his character. Even for more than just that, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Pacey's life going forward if they ended up getting married. Unless, there's medications. Like I said, I know a couple people. There's medications that can really control and not completely eliminate, but do a very good job of treating bipolar disorder, and hopefully as time goes on they'll make even more and better medications as they get more research to it and everything. But still it's tough, and it can be tough depending on whether the person wants to take their medication or not. It's hard. Yeah,
so he's definitely not making an easy choice, but it is fiction, so hopefully it'll work out well for
Love
him.
Conquers all.
And then for Dawson and Joey, they go on their 1-month anniversary dates.
What was the place called again?
Cherie or something?
No, it's some phrase in French that basically means our secret or something like that, but I can't remember what it was. It was something vous.
Okay. Oh. But when he shows up, they're like, oh no, Leary's already checked in. And it's his dad and that fucking bitch teacher.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it didn't occur to us there'd be more than one Leary party. That's pretty stupid.
Right. You have two different Learys, like two different Learys, parties of two, and you just looked at it and you were like, oh, probably a mistake.
Yeah.
You didn't call? Was there a phone number associated with either of those?
Right? Ridiculous. But so, like, they end up going to sit with the dad and his date. Now, whose idea was it? I have to assume it was the restaurant's idea of, oh, well, why don't we just sit you all together?
Right.
What the fuck? Like,
it's their
anniversary.
Yeah, it's their anniversary. I said immediately, Dad, leave. Like, if I was the dad in that situation, I would be like, you guys enjoy your anniversary. We can go anywhere.
Right.
And I would leave.
Well, and especially because it seems like Dawson made those reservations probably before his dad did.
That's my guess, yeah.
I mean, since it was for a special occasion. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Either way, you don't say to yourself, why don't we have a romantic dinner with me and my date and Dawson and his date?
Yeah, that's weird.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, and you're ruining their anniversary.
Yeah.
But they decide to all try to have a nice meal together. But that does not go well.
No, because she says something about, your dad tells me that you want to intern in Hollywood.
Teacher.
Yeah. Why don't I know I have contacts there. I could get you interning, at this place or for doing this or being a production assistant or doing that. And he's like, oh, you mean you're talking about the place that you said would chew me up and spit me out?
Right.
I fucking have no talent. You hate me or whatever.
Yeah, he totally calls her out on her bullshit, which I love. Like, I'm glad that he isn't just gonna take it from her.
Yeah. and as I pointed out before, in reality, I mean, obviously this is just a TV show and this is a 22-year-old man or whatever, but in reality, Dawson's a 15 or 16-year-old kid that produced, wrote, and directed 2 movies.
Yeah.
And one of them won an award at a film festival, and the other, and like, even if they're not great, they're competently made feature. How many of you out there ever made 2 movies when you were a kid?
Right.
I mean, that shows a lot of drive, ambition, know-how to be able to figure out. He hasn't gone to film school to be able to figure out what to do as far as like angles and focus and shit like that. Stuff he's going to learn as he gets. Stuff he's going to learn more as he gets older and even get better at. I mean, that's insane. Like, a lot of famous directors out there, I think Spielberg even included, his idol, started out doing short films.
Yeah.
Which are easier to do when you're younger. I mean, no offense to them or anything like that. Obviously, they're very talented people, but like, even Sam Raimi, local guy, he did short movies too with Bruce Campbell and like his brother and everything, who all grew up around this area. And like, that's easier to do than make 2 feature-length films. And one of them won an award. So it's like, as is pointed out later, you're a teacher. You should be encouraging. Why are you like fucking, even if you personally don't like it. And she didn't say anything like, oh, it's out of focus here. Or, hey, you broke the 180-degree rule. Where it's like, like, for those of you that don't know, when you're filming a scene, you have to cut it in half. Imagine 180 degrees, right? The camera can move in that semicircle 180 degrees when you're cutting between shots. But you can't break that rule. You can't all of a sudden film from behind. It's disorientating for the viewer, right? It ruins the sense of space and place and where everything is, right? The only way you can break the 180-degree rule is if the camera, it does like a movement in the shot. Like a long movement in the shot, and it breaks the rule in that way. But like, so that's one of those technical things that like you learn first day of film class, right? She's not like, oh, you broke that rule, or oh, why, like none of that stuff. She said, oh, the story is bad.
Yeah,
I don't like this. Like, okay, so like you personally didn't connect with the story. Did he do a competent job directing? Because the stuff you're talking about is not objective; it's subjective.
Yeah, she gave him no constructive criticism for sure.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But like, and his dad should, as like his loving father, be turned off.
Yes.
from this woman, knowing
Yes.
that she did this. And at one point, she drops the fucking facade, too, and she's just like, you wanted me to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, that's the cold, hard bitch that you're actually dating.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, is like he hasn't seen underneath the mask that everyone puts on for the first few dates. Mm-hmm. That's his like first peek, and he's still fine with that?
Apparently. And then all of a sudden, Jen and Mrs. Leary show up because they were having like a girls' evening to try to like chill. And they like Mrs. Leary had made a fire. She's got candles. It's almost like a romantic evening. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. She's talking about, like, she keeps talking about, is she going to move to Philadelphia or is she not?
And she burns the pot roast they were going to have for dinner. So now they show up at this French restaurant for dinner. Yeah. Which is weird to me because it's hard to get into. They had to have a reservation. These women show up and they're just like, oh, yeah, of course you can have a table.
This must be new. This restaurant must be new. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they sit her, because it's a small town anyway, too. And it's a French restaurant. It's a small New England town. French restaurants are not like, although New England does have a large French population. Huh. Yeah, they sit her down. They sit her down and they go, you are officially our favorite news person or whatever. So, like, her celebrity got her that table.
And Jen and
Joey work together.
Yeah, they combine forces.
They work together off screen. We don't see it till later, but I like them friendly and working together. I want more of that.
But they send over a bottle of wine. How these underage children are able to order wine, I don't know. Right. But they send over a bottle of wine anonymously to Mitch's table. Mm-hmm. So he thinks that
it's from Gail.
Yeah. And then they get the band to play their song because Jen found out what their song was.
Yeah.
And he comes over and asks Gail to dance. Mm-hmm. And they have a lovely conversation while they dance.
And for Katie Holmes as part of this, she, like, after her and the teacher, Dawson and the teacher get into it a little bit, she calls her over and she's like, look, you know, like, this is kind of ruining our anniversary. Like, I know she's awful, but can, like, you put this aside for a little bit and everything? And he's like, okay, you know, I'll be the bigger person or whatever. And then, like, you know, 5 minutes later, she's like, hey, so, you know, you think Dawson's, like, going to be a Hollywood bigwig or something like that. Aren't you just a bitch? And, like, she starts going in on her and everything, and they get into, like, this big fight, and Dawson's just, like, smiling ear to ear watching this and everything. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, oh, I'm out of here or whatever. And I thought she left.
Apparently she was just taking a break to go to the restroom. She does run into Gail in the restroom. Mm-hmm. And they have a catty little exchange. Gail's like, I was planning to just ignore you.
Dawson's like, you told me not to, like, snipe at her and stuff, but then you started to. What's going on? And she's like, you'll see. Like, and then her, like, all three of them are together. He and Jen and Joey, and they're like, yeah, just give it a second or whatever. Romance is in the air. And then the song starts playing, and he comes over and they start dancing and they're talking. And Dawson's dad is talking about Dawson, but he's talking about himself, really. Where he's like, hey, don't you think that, like, Dawson will miss you or whatever? And, like, maybe, like, you owe it to Dawson to stay here?
Because,
like,
you know, he's not good about talking about his feelings.
Right, and all this stuff and everything. And he's like, Dawson would never ask you to stay because it's, like, an opportunity you deserve and stuff like that. It'd be selfish of him. And so, they do this dance and everything, and then they go their separate ways. And she had been saying that she wanted, like, a sign or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So her and Jen are walking afterwards.
Back home, yeah.
And she's like, hey, thanks, you know, and stuff. She's like, oh, you're the best. And she's like, thank you for my sign. Even if I moved 10,000 miles away, I know I'd never let Mitch go or whatever. And we think, like, oh, this is going to be great and stuff. And then they see them on the fucking pier, Mitch and this bitch. Mm-hmm. Mitch and the bitch.
Mitch and the bitch.
And they're holding hands and, like,
he strokes her face,
being all snuggly and stuff. And it's like, why are you with this person?
Yeah.
Is your penis doing that much of your thinking?
Apparently. It's ridiculous. Like, she was mean to his kid. He supposedly had wanted to get back together with his wife, and she's, like, giving him all those signals.
Send her packing.
But yeah, so he's still with the bitch.
So, and then she just runs away like a little teenager.
Oh, her heart hurts.
I know. And then the final scene of the episode is Dawson and Joey snuggling in a boat.
A rowboat, yeah.
A rowboat as they're going wherever.
And Joey calls him out. She asks if he was planning on sealing the deal since he planned this nice anniversary.
Like, well, I've thought about it. It's been a while.
So there's a big, flirty back and forth with them about whether or not she's considered having sex with him, and which, like, obviously, I thought they were going to the night that the girl died.
Yeah, the night that Abby died.
But
Abby cock-blocked them from the grave.
I think that's the month-long anniversary they're discussing. So a whole month has gone by and they haven't tried again, so maybe they weren't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they're just going to go make out.
Maybe they were going to in the heat of passion, and then, in the cold light of day, they're not.
Well, they didn't talk about it, because I remember him saying, we don't need to talk about it, so I don't think they'd really said they were going to.
Right.
So anyways, they're considering it, but it's not happened yet.
I think they're just planting seeds for, eventually these two are going to lose their virginity.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they're 16 or whatever.
Yeah, so. They should. Yeah. All 16-year-olds out there. You're all mature enough for sex. And to get pregnant.
And get married.
It's full circle. See, I'm actually very open and forgiving or whatever.
Sure.
Unless you're one of my children sometime in the future, then I won't be. But anyway, that is the episode for the week. Carol, tell people where they can get pregnant.
Oh, my God. You can write us at latefee1994@AOL.com. Mm-hmm. Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com.
Yep.
And share the tapes with your friends.
All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.